being recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 o'clock Central Time, and we are ready to begin our webinar for today. My name is Drew Gertis. I serve as Early Childhood Director at Messiah Lutheran School in Weldon Spring, Missouri, where it just started to snow about 30 minutes ago. So I know we've got quite a few students who are maybe anticipating a snow day tomorrow. We'll see if that happens or not. I also serve on the Executive Committee for National Lutheran School Accreditation, and I certainly welcome everyone to our webinar today. Today's webinar will feature a best practice in place at St. Peter's Lutheran School in Arlington Heights, Illinois. This webinar was prepared by our friends at St. Peter's and is being produced by Concordia University, Wisconsin's Office of Continuing and Distance Education. We thank Todd Kreis and our friends at Concordia for their leadership and support in this endeavor. Just a few notes before we begin our webinar. This is actually our last webinar for the month of January. All of the webinars that we've had this month in January have been shared by our friends at St. Peter's in Arlington Heights. Our next webinar for February will be on February 2nd, and it will be led by our friends at St. Paul Lutheran School in Grafton, Wisconsin. Certainly look for more information about that webinar to come in your email and post it online. Live webinars are participatory events. We appreciate your questions and comments. Feel free to express yourself and ask questions by typing in the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. All of the webinars presented this year are available on demand on the login page of the Lutheran School portal. You don't need to be a portal member to view them. If you like what was shared, we invite you to view a recorded webinar together with your faculty. Another great resource of Lutheran Schools is the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Our Facebook page provides another opportunity for our schools to connect informally. We invite you to share your encouraging stories on the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. And now I invite you to join me in a short prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank and praise you for the ministry of Lutheran schools, and today especially St. Peter Lutheran School in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Continue to bless their staff, students, families, and congregation as they move forward in great ministry. Be with all Lutheran schools. Bless those who teach and learn in these places that are full of your grace and love. Finally, bless this webinar, those who are leading and those who are learning. May the information be beneficial in sharing the gospel message with those who have not yet heard. In your name we pray. Amen. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Bruce Rudy, who serves as principal of St. Peter Lutheran School. I know he's got a great team of people there with him, and we look forward to what they've got to share with us today. It's all you, Bruce.
Thank you, Drew. We welcome everybody to our webinar on missional outreach. And one of the things that we want to say at the very beginning is this has been an idea, a concept that we at St. Peter have been growing and developing and being intentional about over the last few years. And today we want to take a look at a three-prong approach to our missional outreach. And the first piece will be taking a look at our school, what we do inside our classrooms, student to student and to family. And then the second piece will be taking a look at school-wide with care ministry. And then our third will be taking a look at what we do globally. Our first presentation is going to be by Stephanie Keller. She is a preschool teacher here at St. Peter and has implemented some really great practices of connecting families within our school as well. So Stephanie will have our first presentation piece.
Thank you very much. Looking at the slides that are up on the screen, this says Joining Jesus, Connecting New Families, but really what we're doing is connecting all families within our classrooms. So we'll go ahead and scooch over here. The book that we read this year, and this was read by all the members of the school and church staff, and then anybody in the congregation that wanted to read it. It's a nice short book by Greg Finke, and it does give really good ideas on how to be missional within your day-to-day life. This is especially good for me. I'm not the knocking on doors and handing out tracts type of person. I'm so much better at the connecting ideas that he uses in this book about being intentional, noticing people around you, and being what they need at that time. Of course, within the Bible, it talks about how Jesus became flesh and made his dwelling among us. He came and lived with us, and was a great example for us, our only example, and now we are the light of the world, and we're meant to follow that, although we can never do that perfectly. In Ephesians, it also says that we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which he prepared for us to do. God already knows what we can do and what we will do, and he will use that because he's already got it all planned out. So if you're like me at all, this is the perfect way to get people together and then, therefore, closer to Jesus. One of the suggestions in the book is that you just constantly be alert and noticing things and people around you. And this includes students and their families. I think that's what this means, simply living each day as if it were a mission trip, noticing what people need. As an example, one of my preschoolers, Joshua, started telling me about a box on the couch, and I had no idea where this was going. And then I found out there was a dinosaur in the box on the couch. And I listened just a little bit more. I was about ready to kind of cut him off and say, okay, we need to talk about Jesus some more now. But he told us that if he sleeps in his own room for 5 days, he gets the dinosaur in the box on the couch. Now, I know from that their family is struggling with that. And I can help in my classroom encourage him to sleep in his own room and check and see if he did. Things like that, just listening and noticing are ways that we can connect to the families in our rooms. Every day, just kind of think about, Jesus, what's going on? What are you up to? And how exactly would you have me join you? And if you're listening and paying attention and alert, he will let you know exactly how to. Now, some of the things that we have in place for connecting families, all of our classrooms are expected to do some sort of connecting activity early in the school year, preferably within the first month. This picture happens to be one of the families at Family Challenge Night, where it had different activities for them to do. This one was keeping a marble on a piece of poster board, and each family got a marble and a piece of poster board. And the fun thing about that was that each family was working together to figure it out, but then as families dropped off, then they were encouraging each other and giving suggestions and things like that. And that was a lot of fun to do. And of course, sharing the ideas with other faculty members makes it even better because they can do things and add to them and make them better too. Most of the things that we do don't cost anything except maybe food and, a couple of pieces of poster board and marbles. It's nothing that you need to spend a lot of money on, which is really nice too. In our situation, we do make sure that our principals know what we're doing and they get the framework of what we're doing. And before we even start, you just want to start praying for your families, praying for your students, and, of course, the connections that they will make. If you get a chance, invite the administration principals to come to your connecting activities. It's good for families and students to see those principals outside of their offices and things like that. But they are busy people, so don't be offended if they can't be everywhere all at once. But it is nice to ask them. Another thing is to provide different opportunities. Not all your families are going to want to do everything or not be able to do everything. So do a number of them through the year and do different things through the year so that everybody gets a chance to share and join in. Here's just some ideas of some of the things that our faculty does. Sometimes we'll just say, you know what, I'm going to be at, Saturday night church. Let's all get together. Let's go to church on Saturday night. And if you can work it out where your class is singing or reading or whatever it is, that's great. Otherwise, just sit together as a class. Talk to your pastor in advance and let him know what's going on. I haven't met a pastor yet who's not willing to say a special welcome to your family, which kind of makes the kids feel special and things like that. Then if you happen to have snacks after, so much the better. Kind of continuing that, doesn't have to be a church service, could also be a sporting event or a play or anything that your school is doing that gives your families a chance to get together and support the school, and it also gives them a chance to see what maybe some of the older students are doing or what some of the younger students are doing through that event as well. Some other ideas, going Christmas caroling in the neighborhood, have a little hot chocolate after, maybe check the temperature. If it's as cold as it is here, you may want to reschedule. Another thing is having breakfast before school. It doesn't necessarily mean, eggs, pancakes, and sausages, but, some granola bars or some protein bars, Go-Gurts, and juice box, and just kind of a fun way for kids to connect with their parents and for other parents to connect just quickly as they drop the kids off for school. Something that I like to do is to take my families along with me to go out for dinner. And I take some white paper, put them on the tables with some crayons and stickers. You get artwork as well. The parents seem to like it because they don't have to cook or clean up. The restaurant owner seems to like it because they have a whole group of people coming in and buying dinner. If you talk to them in advance, they'll make sure that they have extra staff available, and many times they'll say, oh, tell your families to mention they're with your group and we'll give them a 10% discount or something like that. And I make sure to tell the families, bring grandparents, bring aunts and uncles and siblings. Have a ball, bring them all. Another thing would be to host a scavenger hunt around the school early in the school year. Many times families don't get to see the other areas of the school. I've had dads say, oh, I didn't know you had a computer lab, because they just don't get anywhere else other than your classroom. So have a scavenger hunt around the school and let them see what's available in your school. So we already talked about that one. The Muffins with Mom and Donuts with Dad are activities that we do on Saturdays, on weekends. That is, the kids come with that particular parent, with mom or with dad, and we have activities in the gym, we have stories, we have games, we have crafts, snacks, things like that. They seem to love it. Lots of times we'll do a photo booth so that the kids and their either moms or dads can, get a special picture from that day, and everybody seems to like that a lot. Another option could be a family choice night, which is a lot of fun. Take everybody, put them in the middle of the room, and then give them two choices. For instance, Coke or Pepsi. Everybody who likes Coke better goes to one side of the room. Everybody who likes Pepsi better goes to the other side of the room. In our area, we do Sox or the Cubs, or, just about anything that you can come up with, and it makes for some fun rivalry. And at the very end, I do sweet or salty, and then have cookies and pretzels and things like that for everybody to come back to the middle and share. Another thing is CAPE night. CAPE stands for Create a Positive Environment. I have all the families come and write thank you notes for, could be people in the building, could be family members, could be neighbors, whoever they want to write thank you cards for, encouragement books. We took over a bulletin board and just covered it with ideas of ways that you can make somebody's day better, and it's kind of fun to do that anonymously so that nobody knows you do it. That actually comes from a book called A Girl with a Cape, based on from a local author named Amy Logan. She's out of Rockford, Illinois. Another thing, in the summertime, fun to get people together, and especially think about including your newly enrolled families and students, to invite them so that they possibly can meet some of the people in the school over the summer. Just invite everybody to come to the playground. Bring a cooler full of popsicles and let them have one great big huge play date. Having a scavenger hunt around the neighborhood can be fun, especially if you have a lot of leftover promotional materials, you know, the plastic cups with your school name on it and pencils and bookmarks, whatever. Take them along, and if somebody hands you a Q-tip that's on your list, give them a plastic cup with your name on it and use up some of that inventory and have a good time too. Can possibly do a cookout with your class. Started doing this when my own daughter's class went from 2 classrooms down to 1, and so we had a get-together. And we brought hot dogs and hamburgers. Everybody else brought other things to share. And the first day of school, did an icebreaker and got to know the other families that we hadn't really gotten to know because our class was always 2. So that was fun. Another teacher does Mom's Night Out at her house for appetizers and fellowships, so the kids get to stay home with Dad and the moms get a chance to come out. I believe that same teacher also does a family reading night where she has the kids do pajamas, and I think that they even bring flashlights and do all kinds of things that you can do with reading. With that, you can invite guest readers, other teachers, pastors. You've got a class grandma. How about a comfort dog? I know our comfort dogs love to read. We already talked about going to a specific school event, a play or a concert, but really sometimes all it takes is knowing that somebody is going to be there that they'll recognize to make them want to come and join you with that at an event like that. Some other things to do are serving together, not just social ideas, but actually doing some good together. Possibly a neighborhood cleanup would be a good idea, or you could do a cleanup within the church and schoolyard. That's always helpful before school starts. There's several organizations that you can easily do things with. Feed My Starving Children is a good one. You can get more information about their programs at fmsc.org. Making Linus blankets for kids in hospitals and things, that's at projectlinus.org. Samaritan's Purse Shoebox is a huge site that does all sorts of things, but our school did, it was called Operation Christmas Child, and that was filling and packing shoeboxes with needed items and fun items that could be shipped to other children around the world. And that's good to do with the whole school even. Some other service ideas would be visiting a senior center. I know that there are so many seniors who are lonely or who don't have grandchildren in the area, and just seeing those faces can make their day. Preparing care packages. Veterans love them. I have a student at college, and I'm quite sure that she would thoroughly enjoy a care package from students at her school. Shut-ins, having a meal at the Ronald McDonald House nearest to your school, adopting a shut-in from the church, or maybe not even a shut-in, but somebody whose grandchildren are far away. I had some success with that in previous years, and our class grandma loved to order cupcakes for Valentine's Day or make each of the kids cards for their birthday or whatever it was. She came to do stories and things before she got to the point where she couldn't come out anymore. But the kids loved it, especially the ones that didn't have a grandma that was real close, and she thoroughly enjoyed it. Some other ideas for spiritual connections, family prayer partners, as easy as picking names and just having them pray for other families within the class. a mom-daughter, father-son Bible study that potentially even parents in your class are looking for an opportunity to serve like that. You could talk to them about it. We've already talked about participation in church services. I think everybody does that, but that's really important, and the members of the congregation love to see the kids and see how they're involved in the church. Inviting pastors, just like the principals, it's so good for the families and the kids to see the pastors somewhere other than the front of church or in their offices. Ask them to come to popsicles in the park, or ask them to come out for dinner with you, and they'll enjoy it as much as the kids and the parents do. Some of the benefits that come out of this, things that I've seen personally, children who have friends at school and parents who have friends at their children's school, they tend to want to stay at the school because you want to be where your friends are. If you can get people together and have them become good friends, they will want to stay. Not to mention the fact that as you're modeling Jesus' love to them, they will take that with them. And even if they don't stay at your school or at our school or even in the neighborhood or even in the state, those seeds are planted and they will come to fruition at some point that we may not ever see, but it really will. God will bless anything that we do. I firmly believe that. So, all those things are all benefits of creating those strong family bonds within your classrooms and within your schools. And lastly, just be ready and open, like the book says. Notice, be aware, think about, and just listen for ways that people need you. And if you are aware and listening, God is going to show you what they need, and you can be that to them. You may not know it, but God does, and He will bless it. That is my part, and I will send it over back to Bruce.
Thank you, Stephanie. We're going to move into the second part of our presentation, which takes us into an organization in our school called the Care Team Ministry. And the Care Team Ministry is a grouping of parents who support the students, parents, and staff and teachers in all matters of circumstances so that everyone may develop a full life in Christ. And so they purposed with that to serve in that capacity. Giving some spiritual foundations to this Care Team Ministry, we use Galatians 5:22-23, which talks about the fruit of the Spirit, and our Care Team members exhibit and use those fruits as they've been blessed with. Another one is, we love because He first loved. Therefore, we put that love into action, and the Care Team does that in a variety of ways. Another spiritual foundation is 1 Peter 4, verse 10. Everyone has gifts that we've been blessed with, and so the idea is for us as faithful stewards to use them and to utilize those parents to come into the school to use them. 1 Thessalonians 1:2, we always thank God for you and continually pray. And we'll find out through this care ministry presentation that prayer is a vital part of that. When we look for team members of our care team, we're looking for members that are spiritually active in church, their Bible study, as well as their prayer life. We want those team members to have a gift of compassion. We want them to be a confidant, because many times in care ministry, there are situations that should be held confidential as you move forward to serve and help them. The ability to share spiritually, to be able to witness, to talk about your faith, and also being able to be welcoming and friendly. What we expect our team members to actively do and to practice is, first of all, prayer, being able to offer spiritual guidance, be able to offer practical assistance, to share encouragement, and to influence the culture of the school. When we take a look at our team organization, how does this care ministry team organize? we have one person from each classroom. And this is different from the traditional typical room parent program within a school. We have that as well, but this is a different person from the room parent. We also have a coordinator for our group who organizes that group, leads the group, connects with the group on a regular basis. They also meet weekly for prayer. They also have the ability to mobilize on a moment's notice based on the need. And this group is also organized in such that they have a framework to respond to needs. So if there is hospitalization, there's a general framework to make action happen. If there's a death in the family, how do we go about meeting the response to that? And then this person also, the team itself, walks alongside the traditional room parent program. So the room parent is handling the parties and the social activities of the class, and the care team representative is really one who's taking care of the spiritual care support of the class as a group. Some of the care team responses are from a new baby, extended illness, hospitalization, death in a family, loss of a job, military activation, divorce, weddings. All of those are reasons to have a response by the care team. What is our action response? It could be child care. It could be meals. Many times when there's a hospitalization of a parent, we provide a Google Doc that for meal support for that family for as many weeks as is necessary. Gift card shower, whether it's a baby being born or a wedding or a graduation from college, that kind of a thing. And in this case, we're not talking just about parents. We're also talking about the teacher in a class. Transportation, if there's a need for that based on the event in that family's home, there could be a need for transporting children back and forth or getting someone to the hospital back during therapy and so on. House cleaning, we've also provided that for a family whose husband died suddenly, and we've provided that house cleaning for a number of months, and that was an extreme blessing to them. Intentional conversation time. Do not let the family, do not let the person go without some contact. Prayer time. Having prayer time, whether that's invited prayer time or whether that's prayer time on the side by yourself or with the team itself. Attendance at services and ceremonies. So whether that is the funeral service, a memorial service, a baptism, a graduation, care team representative to be there and a part of that is really wonderful. A card shower and a variety of needs that come up, open to needs that whatever is there within that classroom at that particular time. In our case, snow removal is a big thing if there is a need for that, as well as lawn care. And just simple text messages, words of encouragement that can come across the line just to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, praying for you, how's it going? Those kinds of things have been met with a lot of good success. Specifically for teachers, the care team ministry is really geared to also partner with the teachers. Prayer daily for students and teachers of the specific class. Many times the teachers will give the care team ministry specific needs they know of within that class for the care team to lift up in prayer. Encouragement note. We'll find many notes throughout the year from our care team members that are offering words of encouragement or thank you for the service or a great idea that was shared. The care team members also champion support from parents and students for that particular teacher. It's important as you move through the year to continue that going. They also lead class prayer for the teacher once or twice in the course of the year, and also having ongoing connection with the teacher about how to be a support and how to be helpful. With new families, the care team ministry also works to sponsor and assimilate new families into our school. We don't want to leave them hanging, and so we have our care team members meet with them before school via phone call, finding out a meeting place, connecting with them at school. Phone connection throughout the year. So there can be something that is done in September to say, hey, how is it going? How's the transition into the school? Do you have any questions about what's going on in terms of the class or the activities that are coming up? Inviting them to church. If you're a new family coming in, to have an invite to a church to be able to sit with a family, that makes you certainly feel more welcome. It's a connecting point, and from that point, great things can happen as well. Sending a Christmas card, holiday cards at other times also are a good thing to do. Seeking them out at school events, so seeing them at an open house or seeing them at a volleyball game or some kind of school activity, connecting with them, saying hello to them, and making them feel welcome in that way is important. Care Team also sponsors some special events throughout the year. One of the ones we've done the last few years is a Yahoo Boohoo Party, and that's for that first day of school, specifically for our preschool and kindergarten parents. Some are experiencing weepy eyes, and some are just really shouts of joy going on. So we have a little gathering for that on both sides of that, and lots of hugs are given, and refreshments are provided, and it's a great connecting time. Another one is the National Day of Prayer. Our care team members come into the school, into the classrooms, and they pray collectively for our nation, for our school, and for the blessing of a Christian school education. We also offer prayer time before school, and the care team members come into the school before school starts. Many of them come in while the classroom is empty and pray for those students that are going to be sitting in those seats and for the teacher that's going to be instructing in that teacher's desk. And they also might partner with the teacher personally in that way before the students arrive, pray for them and pray for the students-to-be. And care is also especially given for any new teachers. So the idea for a care team member to walk beside a new teacher coming in, to offer support, to offer care, to offer some daily encouragement is a tremendous blessing. Another special event we have for both mother and daughter and then father and son. On the mother and daughter line, we have a torch walk. We do that outside on our athletic field, and the care team members rope out a course, and there's different stations along the way, and it's a prayer walk with conversation starters. And those conversation starters are really good ones for mom and daughter to have and to answer the question from each other, as well as that spiritual piece of relationship with God, and what does Jesus mean to you, and how can we, connect together spiritually as we walk through the year. In the same way, the Father-Son bonfire has been started the last couple of years. We have a prayer time in that occasion also, as well as the spiritual conversation starters for breakouts for the dads and the sons to go off and have some kind of connecting conversation pieces. And then, of course, the whole bottom line is that spiritual relationship is strengthened. It's about that spiritual connection of sharing one's faith and being able to express that to one another. The bottom line of our care team ministry is that prayer is the core. We offer Moms in Prayer that the care team ministry works with. We have a prayer box in the staff workroom that staff members are able to put prayer requests in. They also have become prayer leaders for chapel. We've had a small group prayer groups in our chapel program before, and the care team members walk alongside the rest of the staff to lead a group during that prayer time. They partner with the teacher to offer prayers for school, class, teacher, and special occasions. And they also have prayer time with the principal. So it's very powerful to have a couple of parents come in and specifically pray over me or pray about the school and the leadership that I have in the school. That's a tremendous blessing. So it's not necessarily me giving it out. It's actually having that prayer received by other parents. And it's been a very powerful relationship and a spiritual time of growth as well. What do we say are the benefits? When we've had this now for a number of years, what are the benefits of a care team ministry? It supports the mission and the core values of our school. It intertwines with that. It supports that. It's a thread that runs through our school. It builds relationship amongst the teachers and parents. It utilizes the spiritual gifts of prayer and empathy and leadership. It provides a liaison between the administration and meeting the needs of care and support. As principal, you can't know it all. You can't know all the situations that are going on amongst all the families, amongst all the teachers. In this way, it allows for that bridging to take place and for care and support to be given, not always from administration or from the teacher. So it broadens the base of care and support. It answers the need for a support plan when a crisis occurs. So you're not reinventing that each time it happens. There's a plan in place. The school mobilizes itself. The care team ministry has a place in that, and it functions. Prayers are lifted up daily before the throne of God about the community and the school, and it can't get any better than that, to know that each day our children, our families, our teachers, our staff at St. Peter is lifted before our God. It assimilates new families within our school with a plan of action. It's very intentional that we try to get our new families involved and integrated into our school as soon as possible. It serves as a support to the Room Mother-Father program in our school, and it really champions faith in action. And that's really what it's all about. And as Christian school, we want that faith to be something that is not just talked about, but also modeled and lived. So how do you start? For us, and for you that are listening, it simply is finding a person or two with a gift of prayer. That's the base, that's the core. And then setting up a weekly prayer time for parents and letting that happen. It may take a while for that to grow from 2 or 3 or 5 or to 10 or whatever that might be a need for you. But God will bless that, and in time you will have a group of people that come together every single week, and then out of that you want to discover who stands out as a care supporter to take that next initiative piece of then building a program around that. And the bottom line of all of our care team ministry is to work together as a body of Christ to lift one another up in Christ's name. So as a school, that's what we're doing. We've moved then from our classrooms into our school as a whole, and now we want to take a look globally at what our missional outreach is all about. And I have Ingrid Wittbolt, who is one of our preschool teachers, and I have Kristen Kloss, our preschool teacher, and our PE teacher, and both of them have actually gone globally to missions to a variety of places, and specifically South Africa, which we'll talk about today.
Thank you for tuning in and sticking with us for the third section of this webinar. Hopefully you're rearing to go here. We've talked about so far how we can connect inward inside of our school, how we can connect with our families, and a little bit about our community. And at St. Peter, we've been blessed for a long time now to take a seed that was planted about 25 years ago and to be able to grow missionally and to focus in that way. So Ingrid and I hope to share that with you, but Ingrid will get us started.
All right, we're going to start with the purpose. It kind of goes in with Kristen. As she said before, planting that seed, that picture I took, the 25 years, one of the reasons I took that picture is because the families of the congregation had a chance to sign that particular poster and send it by the church. And so to bring it back to my own family, I tried to take pictures to show my daughter and my husband, wow, look, there's a connection right there. Our purpose for this is to grow these connections and the relationships with brothers and sisters around the whole world, and to be kingdom builders by learning and from sharing with one another, showing Jesus' purpose to those around us. Like Stephanie said before, we've been very into joining Jesus on his mission. How is God using us missionally? My opportunity to actually go on a mission trip was one where I went, oh, this is good timing, thanks God, and what do I do with this? How do I bring this back to my students, my families, the church? How do I share with others? That's really what our purpose here is globally. We have many goals. One of them was to develop a missional mindset by threading a missional focus through teaching and learning throughout the whole school. Kristen's going to cover more about that later. To expose our families to what God is up to around his world, I was able to show many videos of songs and children I had met in South Africa to my class, and we even have a take-home friend named Zarafa who has stories with my children, and I hope to share that with the classes in South Africa and the students I worked with at some point, or teachers also. To foster and maintain direct connection with another global open church, hearing from those other teachers, talking with them, talking with pastors there, emailing back and forth. Taking opportunities to mutually exchange with and learn from our brothers and sisters around the world. I tell you, I learned a lot from them just as much as they learned from me, and as thankful as they were, I was thankful for how they touched me and helped me to come back here and be motivated to teach in my own classroom and connect with my families. And then to explore acts of service within other global ministries around us.
Like we said, our first point was just adapting a missional mindset. This was a choice that our church as a whole has made to think missionally, to ask the question, like Stephanie said, what is Jesus putting in front of you today? Where is he messing with you? Where might he be sending you or prodding you that might feel a little uncomfortable, but that you can see that he is at work? How are you seeing his fingerprints? And so we have really been working, and would encourage you too, to follow God's will for your church. But we're realizing that this kind of a global mindset really does need to be a priority in ministry. As much as we are working inside of our churches and in our communities, we need to be thinking outside of our comfort zones as well and looking for ways to get connected to those that may be even on a different continent than us. The pictures there you can see are from our school in St. Peter in Arlington Heights, and also from St. Peter Christian College in South Africa, where our church has a sister church and now school and preschool. That continuing connection started a long time ago with one family from our church connecting to another, that now has grown to tell quite the story that God's put together. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We want to, in this missional focus, look for ways for everyone to be involved. Every age group, every station in life, to look for ways for people to see what God is up to out in the world. A little bit about how we did get here, and you can read on the screen there, but about 25 years ago, our sister church, St. Peter Confessional Lutheran Church, was founded in Middelburg, South Africa, by a couple in our congregation who worked at a gas station, and they met a gentleman who was attending seminary here in Illinois. Actually, I think it was in Indiana. And he said, I want a church, and I want to be able to tell people about Jesus where I'm from in South Africa. And from that relationship, many, many years later, and having the church get behind that prayerfully, and then in terms of financial means and resources, that church is now going strong. From that, there was a preschool that was founded, Bethel Preschool, and now St. Peter Christian College, which has been going for several years now, and now actually I was corrected yesterday. I put on this that it was K-8. I guess it's K-9. And we have a waiting list of about 600 students. And you may be thinking, well, that's great, but we can't do that. Ingrid and I and the rest of our friends here have gotten to jump on the bandwagon of something that's been in place for a long time. The purpose being, the point being, it started with what is God up to, and how can we get in on that?
So like Kristen had just said, we talked about the seed being planted 25 years ago and how it grew through that couple who met Pastor Kamalo, and how it's grown through us, and how I have seen my own child, like the fruit, as we said, the excitement about what God is up to. One of the main reasons I went, coming from personal perspective again, is the fact that my daughter's teacher had gone, Bethany, Miss Stellungen, as she was known then, went, and she constantly shared face-to-face time with those teachers, those families. She did many things with chapel, that when my daughter heard her mom might be gone for a while for a mission trip, she almost pushed me out the door. It was, Mom, you've got to do this. And somebody who would have probably been more hesitant 5 years ago went, you know, God, I do need to do this. And how do we go from there? We try to help with chapel offerings. We did a board where we showed different how much scholarship we've raised, thank you cards from the students. People can walk by and look at these great pictures and them writing to us, thank you for supporting us. Here at the Christian College, they're so thankful for you. They're running out of the van when you walk in. They're just excited to see who's there to help them and talk with them and keep that connection. Service opportunities, we're going to talk more later about things in your own community besides that touch you more globally to others. One student donated his money for soccer goals. He raised money. He asked classmates. He went through chapel, and he made it a goal for him and forced the Christian college to get their soccer program and to help them with their soccer program that had started. Having these student mission ambassadors come along, we'll talk about that more later, an interdisciplinary unit, and carrying instruments on an airplane. I mean, that was part of our luggage this year, was bringing instruments to the Christian College. It was hard to bring on a plane, but it was a lot of fun to see their faces and see actually the ambassadors helping, and you'll see pictures of that coming up here on the next couple slides, of students who knew music were able to help them with these instruments as well. student ambassadors that have gone along. I think this was from your trip, Kristen, Hannah.
Yes,
This is
Hannah and Richard.
Yeah, and Richard, and they went on the trip. These are some of our 7th grade ambassadors praying with the students. Many of them did lessons while they were there and, you know, had to kind of take the teacher role, and they called them teachers as well. They would be Teacher Richard, you know, or Teacher Jasmine is who I was with, and they enjoy getting to know them one-on-one, and the students just took so much from them as well.
One of the things that our church has heard a lot is that some are goers and some are senders. And so I think that's a really important point for your congregation and then the congregation members to prayerfully consider and to look and see what God is up to. How can we as Christians ask people who may have what we perceive as less in terms of physical means, asking the question, what do they need? So instead of going as Americans who have and have some more, and just giving and giving and giving to turn other people into carbon copies of ourselves, but looking and appreciating first what God is doing in a place and asking the question, what do you need? How can we support you? And from that has grown a lot of our work in South Africa. Going first to be present, to make eye contact, to continue relationships, that being the main focus. From there is built respect, mutual trust, mutual excitement for what God is up to. And from there, then, we can share. The pictures here are some fruits of that. Again, always looking for ways to connect and get anybody involved who would like to be. Just being willing and ready to share the story. Just like we hear about being willing to give an answer for our faith, being willing to share about what God is up to fearlessly whenever we can. The pictures here are of donations, musical instruments, and also 2 playgrounds that are now in place. The playgrounds were donations from one of our school parents works for Allstate. She told her company, I'm going to South Africa with my church, and someone got excited when she was telling the story. Another piece of joining Jesus is telling that story. And they said, well, what can I do? What do they need? And from that came instruments and now 2 playgrounds. So it's interesting what just sharing the story can do.
Well, and building on that, I mean, on the bottom of this slide, we talk about the Allstate insurance made a playground possible, but looking at that last slide, I was talking with Kristen as we were putting these slides together and talking between each other that it's interesting when you go on these trips, and she and I did not go on the same trip. So, like, to know that she went with Jen and Allstate and worked with Allstate, and they went before these playgrounds were there, and to go to my trip a year later and see these, or 2 years later, and see these playgrounds and be able to bring pictures back, and she goes, oh, I haven't even seen them. And it's neat to be able to share that with each other, and it just shows another connection we have there. Jumping back up to the top, how we connect with the church. As I said before, we provide scholarships. We try to post what we're able to provide to these families and finding that connection where they can write back to us and tell us how we're touching their lives. Church members also are invited often to travel and share celebrations and worship and provide resources for school growth and development. Just being able to show a video to your class of the children singing How Great Is Our God after we just sang it, and then go, well, what are the differences? What's the same? And they feel connected just through a simple song. We've also built community local soccer club around this area, has helped donate soccer uniforms and different materials. And then we've brought our luggage over that has all the donations and left the luggage there as we unpack suitcases and books and a variety of things. I mean, in the preschool end, there were hundreds of books donated. I numbered them past the hundreds. We're sitting there, and I leave, and there was an empty closet, and it was filled with resources. And these teachers were so thankful. The things that we might take for granted, those connections of saying, hey, this child donated this book, we brought it over to you, or this family donated these books, and here's these classrooms just thriving and using them. And God using us as the tools to be able to show them how to use those things as well.
Pictured here are the soccer uniforms that Ingrid mentioned. I teach physical education here at the school, and there are many afternoons that I'll see the soccer club out in the field. Didn't really give much thought to it until someone told me, hey, Elite decided they'd like to donate soccer uniforms to the soccer teams in South Africa. Just again because someone was telling the story. Because somebody thought, hey, I want to get involved with what God is doing. How often have we heard someone coming to know Jesus better because they saw that we were Christians by our love? It's not about what we're doing, but it's just about being available to what God is doing and how He might enjoy inviting you on that adventure with Him. So we would encourage you to encourage your families and your churches and your staff to be thinking, what area do I find interest in? How could God be working? What could happen? And then when you have a purpose, when you have a mission to get around, inviting the church, inviting the school, inviting the community, and giving them ways that they can get involved. This can also be a catalyst for new connections. As we said, this idea of missions is not something that is uncommon to churches. It should be what we are about. But part of what we've discovered is the joy of sharing those stories. When we hear that someone is going somewhere or a family has a connection, we're thinking, great, how can we add this? So many times we think we want to do one thing and do it really well, which is very important. But missions is the kind of thing that the more we share, the more God can do. And so it's been interesting to watch just this excitement about going and sending and learning and growing from people around the world that's grown in our church. I've been here now for 11 years, and when we started, there was a person who went to South Africa. And from that, now we've gone all sorts of places around the world and tried to give opportunity for people to come back and tell stories and share pictures and invite people to come along. Like we said, some are goers and some are senders, but what connects us is sharing those stories. Oh, that's me too. As we've talked about too in the other areas, one of the main things is serving. So continuing to ask that question, what is God up to? And how is He messing with us? How can He be opening our eyes to something new? So we continually have looked at how we can support, continuing to ask that question, what do they need, with intention, and then trying to continue those relationships. So when we hear that one of our music directors is going to Russia with Orphan Outreach, asking her, how can we be connected to those kids so that they know that Jesus loves them and that there are kids at our school that are praying for them? From there came creating tote bags for the kids there. When the school opened in South Africa, we asked the leadership there, what could the kids use? We decorated some tote bags, again, very low cost to us, and they went with on the mission trip. Maybe you look for a student. Maybe it's already a compassion child that your school sponsors, or we can give you the names of students from our sister school that could use sponsorship to attend the school. We do that here for students that are most often orphaned, but we're always looking for more support. If you've got extra supplies laying around your school that you don't use anymore, instead of just putting them in the teacher's lounge for anybody to take, could someone use them? We have a summer days camp here, and during the summer is often times when our mission trips are happening. And so we've intentionally thought, how can we engage our summer camp, which has students from our school but then in our community, into what's happening. The picture that you see there is a banner that was made, one of a couple that was made for the mission trips a few years ago. This one I think was actually Russia. And then it was hung in our school. We created one that we sent there, and then they created one that they sent back, so that our students could actually see that these are real people. These are real children just like them, and we could connect in that way. How can you be serving? When you're on site, can you do something, or can you do some work, some tangible work here that can then be shared there? But being open to all those possibilities.
So the next two slides coming up are more to do with the what can you do. Again, are you a doer? Are you a goer? Or are you somebody that's more on watching a mission trip online? One of the great ways to do that is on the top, online mission trip, which is LCMS World Mission. That's on August 26th, and you can just, as simple as watching a video, feeling like you're connected in that way. Feed My Starving Children, we've talked about before. Stephanie touched on that. I know from a personal perspective, anyone can help. The last time I went was for a birthday party, and I was lifting boxes. And my daughter was scooping. And these families just get to know each other through that Feed My Starving Children connection. And then the children are talking afterwards about where that package of food is going, because it's different each time. Saints Out Serving is something that we do here. It's a local thing that going through Lexi Schmidt, our student services person, and she is able to have the students go out and serve around our community. Where could God send you and your family? Well, I didn't know I was going to South Africa, but in some ways I brought that back with me. Not only my personal family, but my church family, my school family, and we've done that through so many things, setting up a global pen pal exchange. Other classes have taken things from our trips, Skyping with our brothers and sisters during chapel, learning together, finding a way to learn with our learners over there, just something as simple as that handprint and praying for each other. Seeing what's around you, choir groups that might be in the area from other countries that might be singing, and getting your classes or your families involved in that. Guest speakers, collecting resources. Again, what is God bringing across your path? What is He putting in front of you? What have you seen from around the world that you could use in your own classroom? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be sent on a mission trip to do research. And as I said before, going on that online mission trip and seeing how you can connect with world missions makes a world of difference to everyone.
This is kind of the core, and if those of you that are listening have experienced missional outreach in terms of getting to be part of a mission initiative, you do always get much more than you give. And again, as we've said over and over and over, it's being open to what God is doing. How can you be supportive in your church of someone who is going? Maybe it's a missional family, maybe it's a missionary, maybe it's one of our LCMS international schools. Maybe there's an interest in your town or a need that a family brings up. But what could God be up to? How can you support that ahead of time and drum up excitement and collect supplies? How could you support during that work and lift up a missionary or send a care package? How can you then support afterwards and be really ready to listen to stories? Those of you that have been part of missions before know that those things come out piece by piece. So always knowing that this is a place, our church, our school, is a place where these stories are continually told, is a way that God continually tells His story.
Here we have listed some resources for you. One of them is our Christian College in South Africa. Feel free to look at that on our website and connect Principal Rudy's email is there if you want to contact him as well about St. Peter Christian College. There's Lutheran Hour Ministries you can connect with. As I talked before, Lutheran World Mission, most ministries.
That's Mission Outreach Short Term, and they do, it's an LCMS mission opportunity out of Michigan, but they send teams to several countries. They've been blessed by their ministry. Not only can you go on a trip through them, but you can collect eyeglasses and other resources for their causes as well. The second page here is the contact for Lexi Schmidt, who again is our Student Services Director. Lutheran World Relief you may be familiar with, as well as the bottom two, Joshua Expeditions and the Lutheran Heritage Foundation. Again, if you need these resources, Our emails are included in the end of this presentation. We'd be happy to share any of that, or you can contact our principal, Bruce, as well. As we conclude, we just ask you to ask again, and we would pray for you, where is God sending you? Maybe that is a place in your spiritual journey that you haven't been yet. Maybe that is being open to somewhere that God is sending your church. Maybe that is physically being somewhere in a global sense. Maybe it is just having the idea that, well, maybe God has more planned for me than I have planned for myself. Maybe all those things that he says about his ways being higher and better, I wonder what they could mean if I got a little bit of courage. And how can I get behind somebody else who's in the middle of that mix? Again, you'll see our contacts at the bottom, but we hope that this conversation has blessed you, and Principal Rudy will close us out.
Thank you, Ingrid and Kristen, for that. I hope today you've seen how the missional piece within our school has been a part of what we do in the class, as well as the school, as well as outside of our school. And we certainly thank you for joining us today. I certainly thank Stephanie and Kristen and Ingrid for being a part of that as well. Emails are available there on our slides that you'll be able to take with you. But most of all, we pray that there's been a takeaway today for you of some kind that will be a blessing, and that you probably have a greater context of understanding that we are in mission every single day, wherever God is placing us, and just to be able to look around and say, how is God going to use me today to be his person in this place? So thank you, and God's blessings to all of you.
Bruce, this is Drew again. Thank you so much for all the information to all of your staff members. I know that there were probably quite a few people behind the scenes doing a lot of work in preparing the webinars that you've shared with us this month. Certainly, again, congratulations on your exemplary school status. Just from the couple webinars that you were able to share with us this month, it's very evident of the great things that the Lord is doing in your ministry. So thank you again for sharing that. If anyone has a question, now would be a great time to do that. There are a couple email addresses there on the screen, so if you need some specific questions asked, or if you've got some questions about some of the resources they've shared, that would be a great opportunity to maybe write down those email addresses. Ron had asked a question earlier in the webinar about downloading these slides. In a couple days on the Lutheran School portal, we'll have this archived version available. So if you want to view it again or download the slides or share it with some other coworkers, it will certainly be available then. So again, kind of your last chance to ask a couple questions if you've got some in the bottom chat box there. Again, thank you so much to everyone there at St. Peter in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Congratulations on that exemplary school status, and thank you so much for sharing all the information with us today. I don't see any questions, but I see lots of thank you, lots of wonderful job. So again, Bruce, to you and everyone there at St. Peter's, thanks again, and hopefully you can join us on February 2nd for our next webinar. I believe at St. Paul in Grafton will talk with us about implementing change theory in pursuit of excellence. So look for more information on that webinar to come in your email. Thanks, and God's blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.